for June 13th. And we'll have, we need to do
Turn your phone
a roll call or anything.
Sure, yeah. I'll
his phone on.
do roll call. Committee Member McGriff.
Present.
Committee Member Gifford.
Here.
Committee Member Novak.
Here.
Committee Member Rocky Smith.
Here.
Committee Member Christine Lewis. Committee Member Rachel Lyle Smith.
I believe she's on her way.
She should be here.
The mayor is unable to be here tonight, as is the commission president, so I will be chairing the meeting this evening.
I also miss Corey Ellis. I'm sorry. Committee Member Corey Ellis is absent this evening.
All right.
Wow.
So first order of business is the approval of the minutes. There's a motion, or
I would move that the minutes of the, if I can get the date, because I did read them, of the June 21st, 2018 Metro Enhancement Committee meeting be approved as submitted.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call for a vote. Any discussion or anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Is there any conflict of interest statements that anybody needs?
We're not doing the voting.
We have to vote on it.
Can we do a group vote that says all in favor?
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Thank you.
All opposed? We're not using the computer, I guess. All right.
No, we're not doing the thing.
Okay, so the next is conflicts of interest statements. So, wow, I have a lot. So we basically have to let you know what groups we're affiliated with or what things we're connected to that may be an interest of you to know. And that way, if anyone has any concerns about that, they can raise those. I am on the board, I'm the city's representative for the Clackamas Heritage Partners Board. My business is a member of the Downtown Association. I'm an employee of the Oregon City School District. I live across from Ladderette Park, and a lot of my students at the high school participated in the Ladderette Park project. And as a city commissioner, we have proposals that are associated with some of our parks properties tonight and also public works tonight. So I think I covered all of mine.
Pretty good.
All right. I am Secretary and Resident of Park Place Neighborhood. I am Secretary for Oregon City Parks Foundation and Chair for Oregon City Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee.
I'm a member of the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, I don't have any conflicts of interest, but I am a member of several of the groups that Rocky also stated. I am a member of the Oregon City Parks Foundation.
Me too.
Oh,
Sorry.
He's a member of the Oregon City Parks Foundation as well. I am a member of and live within the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association, and I have been the liaison from the Neighborhood Association to the Ladderette Park Core Team and have participated in discussions with them on some projects. I've participated in projects at the park itself because it is in my neighborhood. I'm looking down the list to see if there's anybody else on here. I'm also obviously on the city commission and such that I am involved with the Public Works Department in many different capacities through my personal and professional life and through the city commission. And I'm also serve on the city's liaison to the Oregon City Downtown Association Board. And I don't see the other one on here, so I think I'm good. But, it's a small town and we're all involved in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right. So if there's anyone that has any concerns over that, they can state those. But I think that's all we need to do is let you know.
I thought that actually conflicts of interest meant if we had some sort of
Financial.
But still, the public has a right to say if they have an issue with that.
But I'm on
Would you like
these
to
things.
question any of the commissioners about what they've disclosed? Seeing none.
Okay. So the next item is funding information. Lori.
Okay, I'm going to defer to my associate, Ryan, to give you an update on the document you have.
All right, thank you, committee members. I'm Ryan Brady Hoff, here with in the finance department here at the city. The funding summary shows for the Community Enhancement Grant Program, we're basically forecasting for next fiscal year 2020, which begins July 1, and we're anticipating an ending balance of $180,000. So that assumes a couple things. It assumes that we're awarding $350,000 this evening. That's what was advertised. And it also assumes that all requests for extension are honored. And so that includes the ones that are on the agenda tonight. So assuming those things, we expect to end up next year with an ending balance of $180,000. So if you do decide to award more tonight, just keep that in mind. That will decrease that by that amount.
The 180.
Also included is the grant requests. So as you can see, there were 24 applicants for a total of $727,000. So that's just about twice what was advertised. Any questions about those documents?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, then we're moving on to the request for extension.
So we have a couple of requests for extensions over, some are from last year, some are from the year before, and staff recommends that those requests for extension be extended.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or issues regarding the
I just
extensions?
wonder if she could just I've read them, but I think for the purposes of the community and people watching at home, that maybe we could just briefly review those.
Thank you. So there are, in this document, there is an extension for the Lotterette Park grant from 2018-2019, and there's I won't go into explanations, but there are explanations included. There are several letters for the Greater Oregon City Watershed Council's grant to extend for a year, also recommended by several staff, with some supporting documents in there as well. And then, that's Greater Oregon City Watershed.
Rocky, do we typically, is there a time frame that we typically approve a grant, a year or 6 months?
Usually we give them another year.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, oftentimes they don't need that much, but we'll just give them the entire year. Then the next letter is from Oregon City Parks Foundation from a 2018 grant. And that is in regards to the Ermitinger House. So they are continuing on. And those are the updated requests for extension.
Okay.
I'd move that we extend each of those requests for another year.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Call for the vote.
All in favor?
Aye. Opposed? All right,
And there are no extensions.
motion carries. All right, and then we have review and discuss grants. So Gloria will take over that. We're gonna allow, what did we decide?
You said 2 minutes.
2.
2 to 3 minutes.
And please don't abuse it.
We were debating over 3. But just to let you know, we've read all of the information. We were pretty understanding of the grants. So pick out the highlights and give us a good explanation of, a short version of your project. And then we'll get to the next step.
Thank you.
Do we ask them questions after or do we wait till the end?
How would I would prefer that we do it as we go.
Yes, I agree.
So if anyone has questions for you, we'll do that as we
Thank
go
you.
through each presentation.
Okay, so a couple things. First, I am remiss if I don't acknowledge the extraordinary pool of applicants this year for a tremendous amount of funds, and just how amazing it is at the diversity of the applicants. I feel truly like we're also fortunate to have such an engaged community and everybody wanting to make a difference in so many things. It's really extraordinary. So thank you all so much for your time and energy and for wanting to make a difference in our community. A couple things before before I call up our applicants, the committee members have in front of them a preliminary ranking because like Rocky mentioned, they have reviewed all of them and done their initial scoring. So they have a preliminary ranking in front of them. They also have a little bit of information from department heads. So the point that I want to make here is that every applicant needs to, if awarded, be able to verify that they either don't need a permit or they can obtain a permit or can comply with the standards of building, planning, parks, and any of our other departments. So I make that note. You also have in front of you a budget notes, which with the great help and support of our finance department, we reviewed every single budget item and they all balanced, they all met the right percentage match requirement. There were a couple little things where maybe the first page had in-kind and cash donations separated, but then on page 15, they combined them into one. So we just noted all of those discrepancies. None of these make them ineligible or impact their grant award amount. So I just put that there for your reference.
Okay.
And then we're going to go in alphabetical order. We'll start first with the City of Oregon City Public Works.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present. I'm Dana Webb with the City of Oregon City Public Works. Tonight, speaking about the decorative cross street banner pole application. One of the exciting things about the application tonight is that it would leverage our Malala Avenue streetscape project. So we would propose to construct the decorative cross-street banner poles in conjunction with the Malala Avenue project. Malala Avenue is a key corridor for motorists, transit users, pedestrians, and bicyclists. So we would be able to share messages on the banner poles with the community. There's a lot of users of the corridor. The location provides opportunities for many people to share information about their programs or educational opportunities, employment opportunities, and it would benefit a full range of citizens, youth, seniors, low income, and underserved populations. The package includes letters of support from various groups related to that. And then kind of, I think the big thing with the grant application is the installation of public art along the Malala Avenue corridor. Many of our past projects have included an art component. At this point, the Malala Avenue project does not have funding to include any kind of art. So this decorative cross-street banner poles would provide that component for art, creating a sense of place and space and working towards the City Commission goal of enhancing the livability of the community. The decorative poles will bring together art and functionality in a way that will enhance our city and our culture. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions?
I actually do have one.
Okay.
Also.
I want to know what the city's process is for art projects like this one. So are we going out to doing a solicitation and jury this? Because I think just automatically having one party do the work when we have many artists in our community, and it should be open for everybody to jump in to look at this if that's their talent. So are we doing that?
We haven't kind of thought that far ahead, but if that's something we want to look at, we can look at that.
I would strongly recommend it because I think the way we've done our art projects in Oregon City, we have, as I said, many talented people in this community and in the county, and I think to open up a process by which the art for these cross-street banners, should they be approved, I think it would be beneficial and sort of spread the wealth a little bit amongst the art community.
Any other questions?
Yes, please. I'm not quite sure the strength issue that PGE was raising. I mean, where do they get off telling us we can't use the poles that we've used for so many years? Because they're their poles. Yeah, I understand. So did we tick them off somehow, you know?
No.
Did we watch the poles start to sag because of the weight of the, you know, what is the strength issue that they're talking about?
I've seen a few of the email strings, but essentially the poles that we were using on Malala Avenue near Beverly upon inspection by PGE were determined not to be sufficient to handle the cross-street banner. I don't know any more specifics.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. It was I had a very similar question, so.
My guess is it's more that they don't want them on the poles.
Yeah, probably.
With the liability of it.
All right, anything else?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just noted
sorry.
it's just not a suggestion, but anyway, number 8 in the application, it said the banner pole location would be open to be used by employers, educational institutions, and promote career and so forth, and et cetera, et cetera. So is that would be, or it could be? Because I know we have a policy about what's going to go up there.
Anything can go up there.
Well, not anything, but
Yeah, actually, anything can go up there.
I know we have some criteria and whatever, but I just assumed it could be. So you're not saying that it's absolute, all these people, if they apply, would be able to, they could, if the city says that's great.
The current policy is if no one is signed up for that time frame that you're requesting, then you would be able to be up for that time frame.
Okay, so they could be open.
Right.
Okay, that was it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tina.
And I would like to remind everyone that's coming up to speak, at the front of the room, there is a device that has lights on it, green, yellow, and red. I think we're using that for timing. So if you want, that'll give you a hint as to where you're at for time.
Green means go.
All right.
Our next applicant comes from Clackamas Community College.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Kanata. I'm the grants administrator at Clackamas Community College. We're very excited to be here. This is my colleague.
I'm Kyle Thomas with the Student Support Career Coordinator.
So we have hundreds of students graduating tonight and tomorrow, which means we'll have to run out to work on graduation. But with hundreds of students graduating, that's hundreds of potential wonderful trained employees for Oregon City. And so what we are hoping to do here tonight is to fund a 0.5 position for the Career Services Center so that we can focus our time on outreach to Oregon City employers to ensure that they're connected with our career services and also thus connected with our students and with other folks looking for jobs within Oregon City. Currently, only 7% of Oregon City employers are connected with our career services, and we want to spend some time in the next year really bolstering that. So I'll let Ryan talk a little bit more about what they do.
So, yeah, our goals for this project are to strengthen local employer relations and engagement. Building those relationships, I think, is key and will allow us to sustain this in the community. So, as we said, this is for staffing, but once they get engaged with our career services, I think it will be a sustainable project. And just to streamline the process for them to connect with all of these skilled workers and students and alumni. There have been challenges for making that connection, so we hope this will really boost that. So one of the tools we use is a job board, which allows students and alumni to post their resumes, and employers can view that and view their portfolios and post their job opportunities. And so we also have an internship program that we do want to promote to Oregon City employers that's already structured within the college. So we think that's valuable as well. So it's really just to get them engaged with career services.
Okay. And questions?
And I assume this position will be working in concert with Clackamas WorkSource?
Not really, no, it would be just with the college's career center.
But the college's career center, I hope, is a partner of
We're a
Clackamas
partner, yes,
WorkSource. Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and in the materials, you'll see there's a letter of support from Bridget and her team.
Yes.
Is this an additional staff position, or is this, I mean, there's already currently staff for career connections?
Yeah, so, and jump in. Currently, Kyle's team is 1.5 FTE, which is a small career center for a college of our size. And so this would increase his staff by 0.5 FTE. And so that person could then focus on employer outreach, whereas right now they're really focused on students, which is great, but we would like to do more with employer outreach.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? How strengthen local employer relations and engagement. How would you go about that?
Yeah, so hopefully making face-to-face visits, conducting outreach, just letting employers know how to post jobs through the job board, how to attend campus events, career fairs at the college, possibly marketing in other ways, so social media and that way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And moving right along, the next application is from Clackamas County Arts Alliance. With the Theater for Change program. Going once.
They may be late.
All right, I'll move on. The next in order of alphabetical is Clackamas County Historical Society. The first one is for ground improvements.
Go for it, Bruce. If you can just stand right here. Hi, my name is Matthew Rieg. I'm the administrator for Rivers of Life Center, which is a nonprofit in this area. And we are presenting to you the Clackamas County Historical Society Grounds Improvements Grant, which includes additional and important improvements to the museum grounds. And Bill Daniels was actually the applicant for this grant, but he's out of town, so I'm here to represent it. And I have been very heavily involved working with Bruce in the museum in the first phase of this project. So I'll just run through some of the key points that we are hoping to conduct here. It is essentially a two-part grant. And we've got several people here tonight. So we've got Bruce Hanson, the president of the Clackamas County Historical Society. We've got Aiden, Carter, Gabe, Gavin, and Gage, who are all at-risk youth and just youth in general who work with us, and a lot of them have helped on the bluff line. So we also have volunteers who could not be here who have helped to water the bluff line and will be helping to reseed the bluff line. With that out of the way, the two parts of this grant for 2019-2020 are to redo the site irrigation, which is in need of improvement at the museum grounds. It's also to seed the museum grounds with wildflower seeds, as well as seeding the slope, which is next to the museum, going down toward Highway 99E. We are also hoping to establish an additional garden, which would connect to the Kegi Pharmacy, which is inside of the museum, and that would demonstrate a lot of the herbal history through actual plants. And that would also connect to establishing a Willamette Falls overlook, which would look over onto the falls in a very unique setting that is just a different look from the usual Highway 99E setting that gets very congested. So that's the first part. The second part is continuing the wildflower walk pathway. And so we've connected it from the elevator more than halfway to the Museum of the Oregon Territory. And I don't know if any of you have been able to be up on the promenade, but it is very full with flowers. A lot of purple tansy and poppies and lupin and delphinium. And so a really nice array of flowers. A little over halfway to the museum, but we're hoping to finish that connectivity all the way to the museum so that people from downtown can go to the museum back and forth and be there to continue establishing the first year of seeds that we've been able to plant so far.
Okay.
I just want to point out that our timer stopped working.
I was going to say, because I thought maybe I just didn't know I've been keeping track of it.
I just said something. I said it's not working.
Yeah,
My apologies, this grant is pretty complex, so.
that's okay. I'll defer to a phone for the next one, but see if we
All
can
right,
fix it.
questions?
I have a question, and I may have missed it. You may have said it, so I apologize. Will you be seeding or using plant starts?
It would be using seeds. So we, for the initial plantings or seedings this year, we went to a seeding company in Portland and ordered some wildflower seed there. And so that was quite a bit of the flowers there. We did have plantings this year as well, though. So next year would be just seeds, and we'd have the volunteers helping to water as well as seed in those flowers.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It is.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, question?
who owns the property that this project will be done on?
I believe it's the city, it's the county.
County property,
County property. Is the county contributing anything at all to this?
not that I'm aware of.
How was it counted?
The city contributed by spraying the entire bluff line, so they did that in 2018, and that helped to just kill the weeds there, and that helped us so that we could establish the seed bed for 2018.
The Clackamas County Historical Society is actually the management of the property. The county's basically,
I guess my point is the county owns it. It seems to me the
County
county
owns
could
it.
step
The
up.
county owns the land, and the Clackamas
Yeah.
County Historical Society owns the building.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Thank you. All right.
So I just want to welcome Commissioner Rachel Esmus. Thank you for joining us.
Do you want us to there, or do you want us to all the way up there?
way away.
You can move over here.
So we're just going alphabetical through the applications. We're on 1, 2, 3. In front of you, you see your preliminary ranking, Rachel, based on earlier scores, a little bit of feedback from department heads requiring that permits are obtained or can be obtained and comply with city standards. And then the next application is also from Clackamas County Historical Society regarding the window.
Oops, excuse me.
Wait.
Did we want to ask if there's conflicts of interest?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you need to,
Oh,
yeah.
thank you.
I was listening to you guys in the car.
Oh,
Hands free, I
Get
hope.
here.
thank
Of course it
you.
was.
Yes,
free.
hands-free, listening. Yes. Conflicts of interest. I do not believe I have any.
Or do you belong in any of the groups that are being promoted tonight? That's what we declared.
I mean, obviously, I'm an Oregon City Commissioner, and so for as much as I've heard about a couple of these projects, whether they're parks projects or public works, I mean, obviously, I'm familiar with several of these groups who have put in applications, but I do not have any conflicts of interest, or I'm not actually members of any of these groups either. So.
Thank you.
Okay. And you're going to be keeping time?
We're working on a battery solution
Okay.
currently. Thank you to the quick
Tech group over there.
thinking tech support from my amazing colleagues who are industrious.
Always keep spare batteries in your bag.
Keeping it moving. Yeah, let's see. I have a phone.
We're going to test it out. See it.
Yes, does it work?
Good evening,
All right.
Bruce.
Sorry, Bruce, your time
Go
is
ahead.
Ready? Deja vu. Good evening, I'm Bruce Hanson, Board President of the Clackamas County Historic Society. And before you see the application for the window replacement of our building. It doesn't, first of all, they're glass blocks. They don't fit the architecture of the building. The grout and the sealant is deteriorating every year. Our volunteer maintenance guy has to go in with a tube of sealant and seal everything. You'll notice in the pictures, one of the blocks is actually filled with water.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out how to put a goldfish in there yet, but I'm trying. The window systems, the bid was done by Alliance Window from Aurora. They produce or manufacture industrial commercial windows. Last year, they completed the Amazon buildings in Seattle. So the windows are high quality and exceed all sorts of specifications. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell. It's just the replacement of the building windows, all 3 of them. And there is a likelihood that they will fail at some time and allow water seepage into the building and our archives and especially the library, the family history library area. That's the most concerning right there.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yes.
This is really preventive maintenance for a valuable asset of our city. I mean, this is not an enhancement, right?
No, it's not enhancement. It does enhance in keeping with the architectural continuity of the second and third floor windows, but these, for some reason, and in your notes, you'll see that some of the blocks are installed backwards.
Yeah.
Who knows? That's why they're going. And I think the grout is deteriorated to the point where, don't even listen to this, but you can actually, with a little bit of force, probably go through them without any force. But the windows would be matching the rest of the architecture.
Oh, we have a latecomer.
Yeah, so, Mr. Smith, I actually have a couple of questions. So, did you pursue multiple bids? I only saw one in the package.
One bid, I have had prior, well, actually the bidder is a friend of mine, and so he was able to.
The friends and family discount?
Yes, so he got us a very good price on that.
The other thing I wanted to ask about, what is the CCHS's fundraising? I was a little bit dismayed to see that there is a minimal amount of cash. So I'm presuming that your board has a fundraising goal, and you've been soliciting people for, other than the people that are in this grant?
Yes, multiple solicitations going out. Well, as you see, we are not funded by any entity, city, county.
Oh, I know.
So we had one board member step forward for this specific project.
And are there any other, I guess what I'm trying to ask is there any way you're going to be able to bump up your match?
We can put out an ask for more. That's about all I can say at this time.
So you're saying this is an additional ask, or you've already done asks for this project?
We have put the request out, and the donation you see is the only one that stepped forward for this
to
project.
date?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? Nope. All right, so we had Christine join us. So we're just going through all of the projects. We're at like the sixth one, just getting a little bit, but you've, I'm sure, read all of the information. And we did. The only thing I guess we would need to find out is we went over any involvement with any of the organizations that might be presenting tonight.
I don't believe I have any involvement or potential conflicts.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you.
And my apologies for being late.
It's just,
We're glad you're here. Thanks.
Somebody should do something about 99 East South. Very, very bad traffic.
We might need somebody in Metro.
All right. Next.
Our next application is from Clackamas Heritage Partners.
Okay.
Scale. There.
I see we have Dr. Beckham in the house, which is nice to see him after such a long time.
Welcome.
Hello. I'm Gail Yaslino, and of the Oregon Trail Interpretive and Visitor Information Center, and I have Dr. Stephen Beckham here with me tonight. He is on our team. He's emeritus at Lewis and Clark College. We also have our two board members, actually three if you count Rocky, but Dan Fowler, our board chair, and John George on our board as well with Confederated Tribes Grand Ron. He's the secretary on the council, tribal council. So I want to thank you for this process, because through this process, our partnerships have strengthened, and it was a good thing to get all the support partners. We are committed to this opportunity to educate the public of all ages with quality film to show in our on our big screen in the theater. We have thousands of visitors, and we feel very responsible to tell an accurate, comprehensive history to include all cultures and peoples. This film is an opportunity to work together with a team of experts and professionals, including telling the evocative history of Oregon Trail migration and what it meant to the Native people. We've had this for a dream ever since we reopened, that this was a missing history, and we all feel very committed. So if you have any questions, I brought Dr. Beckham because I'd like you to share your thoughts.
I'll just say briefly, for nearly 30 years, through various programs, the center has provided educational opportunities for local, county, state, national, and international visitors coming to Oregon City. A missing element is that the Oregon Trail immigrants arrived in a land that had already been occupied in Western Oregon for at least 7,000 years, and more than 14,000 years documented in the state. That story has not been shared with visitors. The beautiful environment, the Eden-like quality of the Willamette Valley was shaped by Indian fire ecology, the annual burning of the meadows, the opening of the forest understory, the gathering of seeds and nuts. It was a purposeful activity that helped shape and make this area so attractive. This is an opportunity to develop the research, a script, the filming and editing of a documentary educational piece for the theater that will meet a need that has long existed. And I think the center has a well-conceived project and recommend it for your consideration.
Thank you so much. All right, questions? Yeah, you're out of time, Gail.
Nope.
That's what the flashing red light.
But maybe questions will give, maybe some questions will give us some more time. All right, questions, anybody?
Nope. No.
Okay, thank you so much.
No questions?
No.
Questions?
One last comment. Many have assumed that Native Americans vanished in the 19th century. I just urge you to look at today's news about events in Oregon City, and you'll discover that the tribes are still here, and that's part of the story that this film will tell.
Thank you.
You'll have to come to the center for one of the workshops. We're going to have them. You can come talk more.
All right.
Okay. The next alphabetical application is from Clackamas Workforce Partnership.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Brett Baylog, and I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for Clackamas Workforce Partnership. We are your local nonprofit workforce development board, and we're actually the primary funder of your neighbor, WorkSource Clackamas. So thanks for this opportunity. I know a lot of time and effort went into this process, and we just appreciate being able to come and speak with you tonight, because I know there's a diverse array of submissions and probably a lot of time and consideration went into it. So I'm here to talk about Connect to Careers Oregon City, which is a proposed youth service provider network that has been developed at the urging of our partners and friends in local business and education. If you may recall from our application package, we did have letters of support from multiple local employers, as well as the college, ESD, and Oregon City schools. There needs to be, as you heard earlier, a stronger connection between employers and young people. CWP can help act as that convening body through Connect to Careers, but what does that mean exactly? So if we were able to implement this program, that means that teachers would have direct interactions with industry professionals. So classroom activities can be directly informed to meet current industry standards. They can collaborate on experiential learning opportunities for young people. And there is an opportunity not only for schools and educators to participate in this, but also nonprofit organizations, social service organizations, faith and community groups, anybody who's working with young people. For youth, that provides them an opportunity to develop workplace skills for the 21st century, making them competitive employees on a local and regional scale, but also a global scale. Provides mentorship opportunities with adults in the community, as well as some digital resources and platforms they can use to build skills, enhance their resume, and get matched with local employers based on their skills, interests, and abilities. We do have a slew of private sector partners interested in hiring young people, and they're willing to invest in them through this program. So at the end of the day, CWP wants to help make that happen, and we want to help instill a sense of community in these young people, but we can't do it alone. And I know people say that it takes a village, but we think that it takes a city. I like that one there.
Singer, yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Questions?
Yes, absolutely. So this project seems like is there some overlap with the previous presentation from Clackamas?
Workforce partnership?
Yes.
There probably have been similar projects proposed in the past. I'm a year in at CWP, so I can't speak to anything that may have taken place before then. But we've had several programs working with different youth service providers in schools operating simultaneously. This is sort of our effort to kind of condense all that under one umbrella.
I'm just thinking the previous presentation was talking about
community college. He's wondering if there's a connection between.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we do work with the college. Yes. We have actually an on-site location in the Family Resource Center on Clackamas Community College's campus where we provide workforce development services.
Okay.
I have a question. On the proposed budget, I noticed that the majority of the budget money would be allocated to personnel services, salaries, and administration. Is that a new position or a current position?
A little bit of both. The idea is to give one of our staff members, potentially me, potentially somebody else, the opportunity to focus solely on the youth sector rather than having it split up amongst multiple people who also have full-time focus on other sector-specific strategies.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I guess even though I read the application, and I will honestly say between the two of them, they were confusing to me. And so following up on your question, Lisa, about the fact that it's very heavy on administration, I'm a little concerned about the deliverables.
Mm-hmm. Capability to provide.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's understandable. I think that if we're able to have the funding and support that we need to give somebody full attention to the youth sector, we would be able to provide some demonstrated benefits to the city based on number of employers engaged, but also numbers of educators, service organizations, and most importantly, young people engaged as well.
And jobs.
Yeah.
And jobs.
Well, that's if they get a job. I mean, it's a little bit different because with a project where there's something physical, you can actually say, yes, there it is. It's an enhancement. It's obviously clear. I can touch it. I can see it. I don't know if I can go over to the college and touch and see and hear it. I might be able to hear it, probably no touching, but it's a little less tangible in my mind.
Absolutely. And I think that's sometimes difficult when your project is abstract. It requires some upfront investment, literally and figuratively, and a willingness, I think, to just cross your fingers and hope and wait for the payoff. But I think that we're able to provide that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. We'll move right along. The next one comes from Downtown Oregon City Association, and this is the Clean Streets.
Liz Hannum. I'm the new executive director for the Downtown Oregon City Association.
I'm Carrie Crook. I'm our operations and visitor services manager, and also I manage the clean team. So just a brief overview. So we've been running the clean team for 3 years now. I was in charge of it for the past 2 years. And basically, it's sort of a twofold program. So we have a clean team associate that goes around Monday through Friday, picks up trash. I actually have a list of metrics, so it'll give you a good idea of what they do. So over the past 15 months is what I'm looking at here. We picked up 172 bags of trash. We did 90 hours of weeding. We had 95 biohazard cleans, so I'll leave that up to your imagination. We had 72 drug paraphernalias. Most of that's needles, honestly. 61 leaf removal hours, 29 tree lights. So tree lighting is the second part of the program. All the lights on Main Street, they help manage that. And 45 hours of storefront sweeping and beautification of the storefronts down there.
So we're looking to continue that program. And we've actually taken on a lot of the street tree side of things
so
this year.
In the past, we have requested money for both the tree lighting and the associate. And this year, we're going to take on the tree lighting as a match, and we're just asking for the money to basically hire a new clean team associate person. So, yeah.
Okay, questions?
This sounds odd, but What would happen if we didn't have the clean team? God forbid.
In theory, I guess the store owners, I guess, are responsible, or perhaps the city is responsible for cleaning up the streets. So
It wouldn't have.
it probably would just be a lot of biohazards hanging out in Oregon City.
A lot of cigarette butts. Yeah.
Oh yeah, cigarette butts too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is the scale of this growing over time? I know that there were studies done in Germany about the broken window effect, that when something is bad, it tends to get worse. But I'm hoping that the converse of that is as well. Is it's better. I would hope that there's less and less trash to pick up.
It seems as if things have been. It depends because the courthouse is down there, honestly. So it all depends on the population too.
Yeah.
And then there also is the bus, the transfer station down there too.
Yeah.
So it really just depends on who you have coming through. It's sort of an in-between space downtown, right? So around the holidays, we definitely pick up more trash.
Sure.
And then there's definitely times a year where we kind of pick up less, like in the wintertime. But it all depends. It's kind of wild.
Thank you.
Can you give us, what's the footprint that the clean team covers from Singer Hill to the mill, or from where?
Essentially from 99E, where it turns right at the mill, to about 15th, even though we do go down further. And then from the Bluff or Washington Street to 99 and the riverfront right there.
Perfect.
So,
Any other questions?
Well, I will say that the work that's being done is definitely noticeable. It is a lot cleaner, which is
The idea.
right now we've had a 2-week period where we're waiting for refunding. So we've had 2 weeks where we haven't had a street cleaner. And I don't know how many days I've gone out with a broom because it starts to bother me after a while, because I live right here and I walk down to work every day, and I'll just go out there, and I mean, it builds up quickly. It really doesn't take more than 1 weekend to notice a difference when you don't have your clean and safe guy. And they also are helpful because they provide a certain amount of customer service. So we're really in touch with Public Works a lot. So if the meters aren't working for the cars, I know we've had some sewer issues down there too that are, it's like when you have eyes on it, you can mitigate it quickly, because Public Works is great, but they can't be everywhere all the time. So it kind of helps us with our visitor services.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the eyes and ears, so you just answered that question.
Yeah, or like when street lights, or not street lights, but people run over stoplights, things like that. Tree limbs come down. So
by the elevator.
Kind of.
Yeah.
That's the one I seem to report. I'm driving by and I press Bluetooth and go, John, somebody hit it again.
All the time. Or the poor street banners just get run over all the time too. But
All right.
Thank you.
Question?
Good question. Are y'all in touch at all with Metro's Ridge team in terms of a resource for larger pickup, illegal dumping, that sort of thing?
no, not personally. If there is a larger issue, we usually call Public Works, so they might be in touch
Just
with
want to
our
make
code
sure.
enforcement. But
What's the name of that program? It's RID, R-I-D. I'm sure it stands for something, but if you want to get rid of illegal
Reduce
dumping.
illegal dumping.
Yeah, there we
Reduce
go.
illegal dumping.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I have. We had some issues underneath the bridge. So yes. Yeah. Do call them when you need to. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question. And this question may be more toward our city manager. I know that we're considering or we're looking at the agreement with DOCA through our IGA with them. Maybe this is a comment, not a question. My issue with this is, like, when we're evaluating these proposals, one of the questions was, did you have a grant last year or the year before? And is this a reoccur? And so this feels like a reoccurring thing. And it also feels like something that the city should be picking up, like city maintenance of our streets or clean streets or something. And so I'm a little challenged with this, maybe not because it's downtown and you have an invested interest in downtown, but I could easily see this as something that comes back to this grant committee every single year. And so I guess I'm a little challenged with that and trying to figure out where it fits in with all of these other great grants where people are asking for something versus something that feels like a maintenance item for the city. And I just don't know if this has been part of any of the conversation with the renewal of the agreement with IGA, with the IGA with DOCA, or maybe it's too early for that to know that.
I think it's a little too early, so the request was to put together for the IGA or agreement with Downtown Oregon City Association was what were the deliverables that were being provided for the investment being made by the city.
Right.
So we don't have that yet.
Actually, just got it this morning, but haven't had time to review it. Just because if I don't tell you, she will.
It's fair. I mean, I just, it's a challenge for me. Like if we're like, if one of our jobs in grading these is to say we want to spread out the money, we don't want to keep giving it to the same people asking for money, and then versus saying it's the same purpose, this feels like something that we could easily support. You could come back every single, year. We're like, yep, we need it. We need the streets to be clean. And I think we would all support that. I'm just trying to, and maybe it's because my role in the city commission, I'm trying to balance that with where the city, go ahead.
We've been thinking the same thing. And so we've been trying to figure out another solution to how to fund this program going forward. And so I've been doing a lot of research on how other cities handle that. And so I'm in the process of it, and we've got some ideas of how it could, but they're not quick solutions and they're not kind of instantly implementable. And so I'm hoping that this would be the last year that we would come back for this particular program. So that we can fund it going forward. But I think it's going to be 9 to 10 months before we can really figure out how to get that going again.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I was going to let this, I had a similar discussion. Yeah, a little bit.
Sorry.
But I guess one of the questions that I had going through all of this, and this is probably a discussion for another meeting, as a past city commissioner, that conversation had come up a lot. And in recent history, Metro Enhancement, grant.
Can we let them go? Because it sounds like
they're actually going to come right back up again.
Oh, they are. Okay.
I just want to respectfully suggest that the conversation that you want to have is at the end of the meeting.
Right.
And we need to get everybody through here in a reasonable amount of time.
True. Except for, I guess, unless it has effect on the decisions tonight. But we can do that afterwards. I'll bring it up. Because I think we're changing the tradition of how we've done this grant before. So, all right. Thank you. And the next is...
Another application for placemaking.
Yes. So last summer, we did a community survey. We had about 650 people respond to say what they wanted to see downtown. And overwhelmingly, it was more activities on a more regular basis. We put on 11 events a year, but don't do stuff on a more regular basis. So we've got 355 other days of the year that we would like to start activating space. We also have a really amazing opportunity to work with the county. They are thinking about giving us management of Liberty Plaza, but we have to have the capacity to activate that space in order to make that opportunity happen. So they're looking at giving us not only the free space, but also giving us a cash bonus as well to help us activate that space on a more regular basis. So this grant is to help us build that capacity so that we can actually start activating a space that's been kind of vacant for about 14 years now.
My question is, in the grant, in your application, you kind of listed examples more than just actually events.
Yeah.
Is that for this season, the summer season, or is that for
So it's year round. So it'll start in July. And so as soon as we can get somebody on board, we'll figure out what their skill set is and kind of work towards that. We have listings of kind of all activities we want to do, free activities, paid activities. We want to do kind of youth activities, family activities, adult activities. So we've got kind of a matrix of the activities, and we're going to try and pick one from every category. So we're really being thoughtful about what we do and the skill set of that person going forward.
Okay, questions?
I have a question. Plaza permits, is that because Liberty Plaza is that?
Yes.
Okay.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
Yes. That's why we only use it about 6 times a year. So the plaza is used 8 times a year. 6 of them are us, and then 2 are other activities.
It's a hard place for especially businesses downtown to access because of the permits and stuff. So at the moment.
Thank you.
I have something to say about it at the end, but I'm not going to say it now because I have history with Liberty Plaza.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, there should still be a building there.
Not so fast.
Wait.
Just a second, more questions.
Yeah. The duration of this, so you're only planning on this for another year?
Yeah, so the idea is that we kind of give ourselves some runway so that we can actually make enough money to support this position on its own next year.
Right.
So we're kind of, it's kind of a chicken and egg situation. We have to have the capacity to build the capacity and
the county is going to be helping in some financial?
Yeah, so assuming we get the capacity to do this, to activate the space on a regular basis, they're willing to work together on an MOU so that we can actually manage that space.
And not charge for any permits?
Not charge for any permits, and also bring cash to the table as well.
Yep.
I wonder how that might change after the courthouse is gone.
We've never worked with the county before, and it's really exciting to have this potential opportunity, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other
Thank you,
questions? All right, thank you.
Answered.
Thank you.
Okay, the next application comes from Ecology in Classrooms and Outdoors.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Woods. I'm the Interim Executive Director of Ecology in Classrooms and Outdoors, and I'm here to talk about the Newell Creek Enhancement and Service Learning Project. So our project site is 3 acres adjacent to the Mountain View Cemetery, and the goal of our project this coming year would be to engage 180 students in classroom lessons to prepare for on-the-ground service learning in the riparian area of Newell Creek.
Okay, that's it. Short and simple. All right. Questions?
I guess I should have declared that I live a block away from there, so that's of interest to me. But you only mentioned 3 acres. Newell Creek Canyon is a lot bigger than that.
This is true. We are talking about elementary school students, so we have to pace
You're just talking about the trailhead?
No,
it's trailhead is going to be, or are you going to
no,
go
it's
down
the
the
area
hill?
down below the hill, and we're doing blackberry removal and then native plantings.
Under the power lines?
No, further down at the edge of the cemetery.
Phil, could you possibly enlighten us to, because one of the only question I had was, yes, adjacent to the Mountain View Cemetery, but I kept thinking, well, it's not up on the flat, it must be
yes
over the side.
So behind the mausoleums, as the trail that carries you down along the creek, the stormwater swale that goes down that hillside there.
Okay.
So Metro has been doing a lot in that area of cleaning up and removing invasives and spraying and all sorts of positive things. And what's your interaction with Metro on this project?
We haven't been interacting with Metro. We've been working with John Waverly because we're working on the Oregon Parks Department properties.
So this is not in Metro's property?
No, it's adjacent to the Metro property. It's Oregon City Parks.
Yeah, but they have property down below the mausoleum too.
But not on that part.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Sarah.
you, Phil.
And Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon.
Hi, my name is Jenny Pratt. I'm the director of the Second Home Program, which is a program of Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon.
And my name's Adam Jenkins. I'm a regional coordinator for Second Home.
And Second Home is a program that provides long-term stable housing for unaccompanied high school students so that they can focus on their studies, they can experience and explore some of their gifts and talents, they can graduate from high school and go on to pursue their goals and dreams for the future. And unaccompanied students are those students without the consistent presence of parents and guardians. Most of them are couch surfing, some of them are sleeping in their cars, but all of them need their community to walk with them through graduation to ensure that they can reach their potential. And our program program is a partnership at the core. It's a partnership between our nonprofit Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon, local school districts, as well as local mediation centers.
Yes, so we've formed a partnership with the Oregon City School District as well as Clackamas County Resolution Services in order to provide these services for our students. Currently, there's 116 unaccompanied youth identified in the Oregon City School District, and we're hoping to alleviate their unaccompanied position in life as well as their need for housing. And we do this so that they can focus on actually passing math and English and writing and potentially pursuing their dreams and hopes for the future. Our partner wasn't able to be here this evening. She had guests from out of town, but she would like it said for the record. And this is the homeless liaison at the Oregon City School District, Mary Ellen Winterhalter. I quote, "Our unaccompanied homeless numbers are very high, proportionally due in part to having no transitional housing resource in our community. Our students bounce between friends and relatives and sometimes end up camping out. Many struggle with issues that would preclude them from the Second Home program, but we also have students who are well on their way to graduating on time and just need a comfort and the stability of a regular safe housing. Those students would also benefit from having a team of support to help them cover some of the cost that emerged during their senior year and or advocate for the removal of barriers that may keep them from being able to fully engage in school. Thank you for your consideration of assisting these students through the Second Home and caring about the youth in our community."
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Have you applied for assistance from the county? Because this sounds like it's right up the county's alley.
We have. In fact, we received a grant from the county for this last year, 2018-19 school year, but it will be ending June 30th.
How much was that for, do you know?
Yes, it was for $46,000, and it was for 1 year, and it is ending, and there's no guarantee that it will continue. So they actually are very much in favor of continuing the program, but just cannot guarantee that they have the funding to do so.
Have you applied for them yet, and what's the time frame for that?
They are getting back to us. We've been in contact with them. They do believe they might be able to have an answer for us in September as to whether or not they'll be funding for the program moving forward. But in the meantime, we have spent an entire year working hard to establish relationships so that we can move forward and serve students, and we'd like to see the work continue. Adam has done a great job in this area. He's the coordinator for Clackamas County and has been working closely with the McKinney-Vento liaisons in Oregon City.
So is this possibly like a bridge funding until perhaps the county could step up and take its part in this?
Well, in actuality, it's a community effort. So we're simultaneously working in Salem for state funding. We believe that we need county funding. We also need local communities to buy in to support their own unaccompanied youth right here in their midst. So we're hoping that we'll have funding from a variety of sources, including we work with faith communities, local businesses, and individuals who believe in these kids and want to see them be successful. So we welcome investments from all of those levels.
I noted that Mary Ellen's statement said that we have a high proportionality of students who are unable to be housed. Do you know how that compares with the Gladstone School District or Westland? I mean, they're all in Clackamas County or North Clackamas School District.
Oregon City's is higher.
Oregon City has the highest rate of unaccompanied youth of any school district in the county.
Wow. Yeah. So everybody else has less than 116?
North Clackamas is a close second with about 100 they saw this year.
Wow.
Just a comment, that's astounding.
No.
Yeah, and sad. Yeah.
I have some totals here if you want this.
Sure. You can give it to Lori.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes. So the majority of your dollars are for personnel services. Can you comment on, is this really just kind of a supplemental, a buy-in to your program and the administration of your program?
The majority of our funding for the Second Home program does go to provide staffing to work with students. The program is very relational and it's a partnership with other entities. So being that we partner with the school district, as you know, the school district is quite amazing in meeting the needs of the students, and they can provide for almost all of the needs the student would have except for the housing. So we come in and do the housing piece. The mediation centers negotiate contracts, rental contracts between students and home providers. Rent is paid not by money, but by going to school and contributing to the household. But we need to be able to provide the staffing to recruit the home providers, to spend time with the students, to make sure that we're addressing those students' needs in a holistic way and communicating well with our partners so that students don't fall through the cracks. So the majority of our funding does go toward our staffing to do that work.
Okay. You're working, I presume, to meet the students where they are.
Yes. Definitely. And the program is trauma informed. We're always working to be more trauma informed, but it's important to us that we do meet students where they are, that we listen to them, that we let them tell us what they need, what they want, what their goals are, and then we can come around them as a community to help them reach those goals. And we also have them interview their home providers, so they choose their home provider. We're not matching them, but we're listening carefully to them.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Right, next.
Hillendale pickleball courts.
All the stuff is supposed to go through our stand.
Thank you. We made copies for it.
Can I just comment, it's nice to have a full room of people that are being really nice to us and not angry with us.
Oh, just wait.
Oh, yeah, we haven't got to cutting yet.
When have they been angry with us?
We'll continue to do this.
Everybody's so happy and smiling.
Hi, I'm Robert Small. Robert Small, the president of the Hillendale Pickleball Club and ambassador for the United States Pickleball Association. And this is Tim West. I'd like to thank you very, very much. We as a club, thank you. 2 or 3 years ago, you gave us a grant or awarded us a grant. And because of that, we were able to turn Hillendale into what is considered the crown jewel of pickleball clubs in the Portland metro area. There are no other courts like it in Portland. It is the best pickleball court setup going, and we thank you very much for that. And
very good. So I just want to summarize all together first before going to explanation, and that is what the Hillendale Pickleball and Park Lighting Project is all about is to make the park safer, to go ahead and increase visitation to the park itself, and then to go ahead and extend playing hours over at the pickleball court itself and increase pickleball tourism, which is really big. What we're looking at is lighting the courts and the paths all the way around the Hillendale Park. It's going to go ahead and make it a lot safer for people to get from the parking lot all the way to the court itself when it's lit. And what we have planned in our vision with our club is to have, we have a tournament coming up in August. We have evening ladders that will kind of end when it becomes dark this fall, but with the lighting on the court, it's something that we could play all year long. Hillendale Pickleball Club is a very active club. It's a regional treasure in the fact that it's the only 8-court pickleball court in the Portland area, and people come from all over to go ahead and play here. And it's something that we are responsible for over 200 adult visits to the Hillendale Park itself every week just to come and play. That is going to be increased and even doubled because of the lighting that is going to be available if indeed we are successful here. And it's something that we have, what else? Okay, that's a red light there.
Speaking of lights, I have a question about the lights. are they on a timer? They'd be on a timer.
Yes.
They would go off at 10 o'clock, right?
Yes, it's like a rheostat, so if it's raining, nobody's going to turn that. So the override would be park hours, 10 o'clock, everything turns off. Except for the path lighting, they'll go all the way back to the parking lot.
Perfect. Okay, questions?
I actually have a question for the city manager, which is something that we've talked about. To me, this is a perfect project that SDCs should be used for because it's a safety enhancement and it's not adding something to the park that doesn't meet the SDC criteria. So it's to me. Please.
The manager would allow.
I was going to have him direct you.
So this is something that we've discussed with our Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. The city matching funds are SDC funds, and we've spoken with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee about prioritization, allocation of funds. We struggle to be able to keep pace with development and acquisition of park space. And so we've made a prioritization with our SDC funds to use those to acquire and develop parks, particularly in park deficient areas. But we've set aside some funds in this upcoming budget biennium in order to supplement projects that have a high impact and have added value, such as grants and this type of opportunity. So the funds, the actual cash match on this grant is SDC funds, but again, we need to balance that with our park acquisition needs.
I'm going to take a deep breath before I say this because I think it should be funded 100% out of SDCs.
So this is the conversation that you wanted me to wait for until later.
No, that wasn't a zing.
Any other questions?
I didn't make a statement. I just wanted to know why we weren't using more SDCs for this project.
Yes.
Any other questions? Oh, thank you.
I forgot to declare that I'm also a member of the Hillendale Neighborhood Association, so far as the transparency stuff. Actually, the land use chair for it.
That doesn't have anything to do with pickleball, though.
Well, it does in the fact that we wrote a letter of support.
All right.
But I wanted to point out that this lighting is not just for the pickleball courts,
I know.
which is really funny to say.
It's for basketball or
that's why I think it's
and the park in general.
Correct.
Yeah, or that part of the park anyway.
Yes.
The pathway.
The pathway all the way back to the parking lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it would create a looped walking path for users for exercise as well as accessing the park during dim lit hours.
It's not just for pickleball. A mom and dad can bring their kids after working hours and shoot the hoops, play tennis. A pickleball court is the same size as a badminton court.
They shoot geese?
Pardon me?
Shoot the goose?
Shooting basketball?
Oh, hoops.
Hoops. They could shoot goose there. Like, the new sport.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. William's in charge of goose.
Next.
Next is Home Orchard Society, and thank you, Phil, for your input.
Yes, thank you for that.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tanya Lordy. I am the manager of the Home Orchard Society Demonstration Arboretum, which is located on the Clackamas Community College campus. We have a 1.6 acre lot that the college has been leasing to us since 1986.
I'll introduce myself too. I'm Scott Martin. I'm the vice president of the Home Orchard Society and also the beekeeper there.
So this is phase 2 of our Community Orchard Initiative project. In 2016, we were awarded grant money to complete phase 1. Majority of the funds are going to improve our site and make upgrades to our site. So with phase 2 of the project, we're hoping to expand our propagation area, which will include a small propagation house, which we could produce plants and teach propagation classes. And the plants that we produce go into our plant sales, which acts as a fundraiser for the organization. We also would like to design a brochure that would help guide visitors around the Arboretum. install signage throughout the Arboretum, which would also help to guide them and to inform them of some of the educational demonstration things that we already have installed at the Arboretum. We would also like to install a honeybee demonstration and education site, which Scott is paramount in that. He is our resident beekeeper. Removal of some of the diseased trees and do some ground prep for future plantings, as well as acquire some rain barrels so that we can have access to water in the winter. We don't have water in the winter because the college shuts off water to everything except for their buildings. And we would also like to purchase some new equipment for our community members to use. Since 2016, we have been able to increase the amount of workshops that we're offering from approximately 12 to 26. In 2015, I believe we had about 240 people in attendance to our workshops. So far this year, we have 478. And that is mainly because of the extra stuff that we were able to incorporate into the Arboretum and the advertising we were able to do, and just the instilling this community orchard program and getting people in the surrounding area interested and aware of our site.
All right. And you're out of time, but do you have?
I don't have any more comments.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Questions?
No, it was pretty self-explanatory.
The workshops or classes that you provide,
Yes.
are those paid? Are those open to the public? Are those only for students?
Those are open to the public from anybody. We do a sliding scale, $10 to $20. We also do work trade. So if somebody cannot afford to take a class, they can volunteer for an hour and get the workshops for free.
Thank you.
That was my question. That's good use of labor.
In the same direction. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Next is a Lotterette Park Core team.
You can just pull up another chair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, hello. Good afternoon or good evening, Community Enhancement Committee members. First, I want to thank you for taking your time to be able to dedicate to this very important project. I'm really excited to see that there's so much interest in this program. And I think that you guys have a pretty hard job for you in front of you tonight. So the Community Enhancement Program is an essential part, a program that allows residents to actually engage in their community and make a long-lasting difference in their environment. And I want to emphasize that I really do believe that investing in parks throughout Oregon City is an essential part of the program. It hits many of your key elements that you're looking for. It increases safety, attractiveness in neighborhoods, it improves recreation. It really benefits the youth, enhances art and culture. You just really hit a lot of those elements when you are investing in your parks. So I wanted to say tonight for the Lotterette Park application, this is an opportunity for this group to have been both the first dollar into this project as well as leveraging the last dollar out. It's really exciting. The first time we came and asked for money, and actually it was with a Girl Scout troop asking for $5,000, it started the vision of this project. And it brought neighbors together. That workshop brought Cheryl. Cheryl met Heidi, and they both live on the same street, practically across from the park. And they've been working on this project since. We've been able to engage the community with the DePave project. We've moved the basketball courts down. Kids are playing in that area. And the last bit of money has actually funded the construction drawings. So this, our request would leverage the investment that the city is looking at making to be able to actually get this project to the finish line. This project specifically is talking about investing in the construction of the nature play elements and some of the natural features. We just have a small gap in our budget to fill, and we're asking for assistance with that. So if you have any questions.
Questions?
I'm curious why the even number. I mean, the 50,000 flat out.
Because our gap is bigger than the 50,000, and so we want to be able to cover as much as that as possible.
makes sense. That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
One quick question, or maybe not quick. Do you have any indication as to what your actual costs have been to date? How much money has been outlaid so far?
I think that's a good question. And I could tell you that
how much we've actually spent? Not much. I mean,
yeah, maybe
construction drawings, perhaps.
Maybe Phil, maybe you can
So
speak to that.
the construction drawings contract is about $30,000. We did spend, I guess, on the visioning process.
The visioning process was $5,000, and then there was the depave element that cost, I don't know, $10,000 or something like that. You know, all of this was matched with community volunteer time to be able to bring the project forward. We've been matching with some of the time for the Parks Department. They moved the basketball standards down and have brought some stuff into the park. So whether or not you're counting that.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of that particular geographic location, all the park has to be done at once. So we can't do this in phases, which is why we're trying to accumulate a full amount all at once.
Yeah. Right. And I do think, I do want to reiterate that the park investments really are going to be able to make that park accessible in ways it never has been before. A fairly large amount of the funding is going to be able to create an ADA ramp, and as well as an ADA accessible ramp just to get into the park, because that curb ramp is just horrid to get into the park. But really will be able to allow that play area up at the top to be able to be accessed by all people.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next.
Next is the Lower Columbia Estuary Partnership.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Chris Hathaway. I'm the Community Programs Director with the Lower Columbia Estuary Partnership, and I'd like to thank the committee for the opportunity to speak and for the opportunity to submit what we think was a fairly unique project that combines recreation, education, community engagement, and stewardship. That project will engage 144 Oregon City residents directly with the Willamette River through an on-water experience in our two 29-foot big canoes. These big canoes hold 14 passengers each, and they're a really unique, intimate way to connect with water resources. Each trip will be 2 to 3 hours. We'll start at John Storm Park, head up to Willamette Falls, provide a really unique viewpoint, head back down around Goat Island to Clackamas Park, giving people a really direct way to access the Willamette River. 3 of the trips will be with students from Holcomb Elementary. One trip will be with the Pioneer Community Center, and 2 additional trips will be with community groups where we would focus on reaching out to underserved communities. The project's important because it engages people directly with the Willamette River and Willamette Falls. It focuses on students, seniors, and people from underserved communities, the people who have the most trouble accessing the Willamette River. Accessing on-water recreation can be prohibitively expensive. This provides a really unique, low-cost way. The trips are free for people to access the river. And the river is the heart of Oregon City and the Oregon City community. It's very important for people to have opportunities to interact with the river, to gain knowledge of it, to gain experience of it, and that's going to be key to the long-term protection of the river and Willamette Falls. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Northwest Center for Alternatives to Pesticides.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for everything that you're doing for the city here.
My name is Sharon Salvaggio. I'm with Northwest Center for Alternatives to Pesticides. I'm the Healthy Wildlife and Water Program Director. And our project is aimed at empowering Oregon City residents and the Spanish-speaking landscapers who service so many Oregon City households with education on alternative pest management for home and garden and rain garden and stormwater facility management. Our aim is to reduce the health risks for Oregon City families, pets, and children, as well as to improve opportunities for people to understand that chemical-free methods are safer for bees and better for waterways. We know people don't like weeds, blackberries. We know people don't like rats or ants and all of that kind of stuff in their home. We're certainly not advocating for that to be in people's home, but we also know that a lot of people don't necessarily have the knowledge or tools to understand that there are chemical-free ways to have a pest-free home without endangering, well, that's a strong word, but without putting themselves at risk, as well as environmental values. So in our project, we have basically three main components. One, we would continue to reach out to Oregon City residents with our resources packet, which we have been distributing this year, and so far we've reached over 725 households in Oregon City. It comes with the top pest issues that people deal with and information with a link to a lot more information for each of those at our website, detailed information about how to manage those without pesticides. A similar handout about loving your lawn without pesticides, and kind of an overview pamphlet that talks a little bit about the benefits of going pesticide-free. For people that pledge to go pesticide-free, we provide them with their choice of a pesticide-free zone sign. In addition to that project, in which we'd hope to gain between 100 to 200 additional pesticide-free pledges and reach out to 750 or more Oregon City households, we would hold a hands-on workshop for Oregon City residents to learn techniques that, again, they may not be familiar with, but hands-on techniques, a demonstration workshop to teach people about how to manage some of those difficult weeds in their lawns and ornamental beds. Finally, we would train up to 40 Oregon City landscape people who work for landscaping companies operating in Oregon City who need information about stormwater facility, installation design, and maintenance techniques in Spanish. This would build off the workshop that we provided this last year called Soaking It In, that we did in English and involves some very well-known high-quality speakers. But because there are so many landscaping companies operating in our metro area and in Oregon City who are basically staffed with Spanish-speaking landscapers, we want to make sure that that same kind of information and that quality information is available to that audience.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Questions, if I may. Project budget, proposed budget. Personnel services. And where does that come from? The $15,294. Is that for a full-time employee?
No, it wouldn't be a full-time employee. It would be for the staff time that would be engaged in basically carrying off all three of those components. That's not a full-time employee, though.
It would be a very short-term full-time employee for that amount.
Well, we have staff. That would be basically my staff time, but it would be a portion of my overall. That would be only a portion of what I work on during the year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Next is the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce.
Hello.
Good evening. I'm Michael Brand. I'm the Executive Director of the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce. We are now in our 110th year of actually promoting the economic vitality of Oregon City. We represent over 300 organizations, government, private, nonprofit, and in fact, I think all but two of the organizations you've heard here tonight are members of the Chamber. Our proposal to you is for our Entrepreneurial Mindset Program, which is a model that we've used from the Ewing Kauffman Foundation And the idea is to expose people to the minds of what it means to be an entrepreneur. We have run this program as a pilot, and one of our support letters comes from Imperium Electronics, which actually Kim Foster, the founder, went through our program and now is developing a electronic door lock that's manufactured here in Oregon City. The idea behind an entrepreneurship program is not only limited to people who want to start a business, it's also social entrepreneurship. So a lot of the issues you heard here tonight is a way to kind of tap into the creativity of people, bringing creative solutions to some of our really kind of most pressing social issues. We have a lot of support from the Oregon City Schools Foundation, from the Oregon City Business Alliance, and we have support from Intel, as well as social venture partners. This project really has the potential of impacting every aspect of life in Oregon City, not just economic development, but also our social issues, and also reaching out to marginalized populations who are not taking part in the economic vitality of the area. So with that, I will entertain any questions that you have.
Questions?
What's your anticipated participation?
200
numbers. Okay.
200, at least 200. Yeah.
Which could potentially have a ripple effect. Yeah.
Oh, it will definitely have a ripple effect. This project has been, I guess, established through the Ewan Kaufman Foundation and has been implemented in places such as Erie, Pennsylvania, and Colorado Springs, which I've been involved in. Also other areas like Kansas City and Albuquerque on a citywide basis. Not only working with potential entrepreneurs, but also with the city government, the school district, nonprofits, foundations. So the opportunity really to enhance the economic livability of Oregon City is huge.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oregon City, go ahead. Oregon City School District.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rick Larson. I'm with the Oregon City School District. Our proposal to you this evening is to remove the existing chain link fence at Barclay School, which I have a picture of the existing if you'd like to see that. And we'll be replacing it with a simulated wrought iron fence, a steel fence. Last September 25th, we applied to the Historic Committee, and they approved this style of fence to meet the historic code. I've checked with the city building department. They said that we do not need to have a building permit to put in a fence. I have received so far one bid, so we actually need to amend our grant request. This bid amounts to $90,046, so we'd be requesting half of that, $45,023. So it's actually a reduction, and we're going to get two other bids. We're in the process of working those out from two other companies as well. So it could be potentially a little bit less than that. The benefit of this is to really enhance the appearance of that fence and bring it into the alignment with the city's desire for the McLaughlin Historic District. When we appeared before the Historic Committee last September,
Historic Review Board.
The Historic
Review Board, yeah.
Thank you for,
You're welcome.
for reminding me. Thank you. But they did ask about the fencing particularly on the east side, and when we'd be doing that. So this scope would replace all of the fence around the building.
Okay, I have a question. Being a neighbor nearby and also working for the school district and being a part of the conversation with Barclay School, the tenants that were in Barclay moved to Mount Pleasant for a short time. So I guess my question is, what is the future use of Barclay School in the next year or two, 5 years? I'm sure that the theater programs still continue there, but what other uses will be? contained within the park this year.
Yes, thank you. The upper level is currently being used, the theater, for the theater program, as you indicated. And then we also have our special services out of there that work with the homeless liaison, and some of the itinerant special education teachers have office space there. And then in the lower level, that's where we are now housing students. The last summer, we did about a $500,000 project to do some seismic enhancements and remodeling down in the under side of the building. We're housing our Bridges to Independence program there now. That's a program that serves students between the ages of 18 and 21 who have disabilities, and it's a life skills program that teaches them how to look for work, how to ride TriMet, how to maintain their house, how to manage their money, wash their clothes, those sorts of things.
And that building is on the historic inventory.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yes, it is.
But it's not a national register building.
No, it was constructed in 1936. I brought the historic inventory if anybody would like to see it.
Named after our very own Dr. Forbes Barkley.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Well, it's more of a comment. I really appreciate the fact that the school district is interested in taking out the chain link fence, but from a neighborhood level, because I'm also adjacent neighbor, I would like to see you redo that ADA ramp that you have there. That is not in compliance with anything in terms of how it's, the pickets and all that on that. So I hope that's the project down the line that you fix that.
Thank you. We did do a facelift on the front of the building last summer, but I thank you for that comment. Appreciate
Well, it's just explain. So when you have a balustrade, you have in between the top, bottom, and the rail, you don't nail it on the side. So that would meet our historic standards. I would like to see the school district fix that. But thank you for bringing this project, because obviously it'd be great if we could get less chain link.
Should I submit the bid?
Yeah, I'll take those. Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Thank you for working on that.
Okay, next.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Oregon City Youth Sports. No, I'm sorry. Oregon City Together. Sorry. I'm like alphabetical. So there's 4 of them.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, folks. Brian Shaw with Oregon City Together. I'm a board member, and this is Pam Wilson, our administrator. I think what you're thinking about right now, you wish you had $750,000. That would kind of take care of a lot of your predicament you're in right now. But, you've been hearing about a lot of the people taking care of their assets of this city tonight so far. And Oregon City Together, their mantra is that the youth of this community is the biggest asset this community has. And our job is, as our organization, is to protect and educate the youth as much as we can. And it's part of a recipe that, because this is through the Oregon City School District, and the recipe is the school district, the teachers, and the parents, and also the police. And we all work together to provide the programming that we have been doing at the school, in the school district, and we want to continue. I want to refresh your memory, because I've been in your position, but last year we applied for this same program, and we were in the top 10 for funding, but it got eliminated to very end by anything. But anyway, I'll have Pam kind of take it from here.
Okay, thank you. And our project is pretty simple. It's really the fact that fewer, youth who are having access to drugs creates safer neighborhoods for everyone. I mean, not having access to drugs certainly helps the youth and their family, but it also helps all of us as well. And in our last survey, 25% of our 11th graders said that they had used marijuana in the last 30 days. And this rate has doubled since 2012. So reducing access is really a critical issue for, as Brian said, to protect our youth. And we're proposing to educate parents, other adults about the risk of youth marijuana use. I think in our community, there's a kind of a social norm that it doesn't harm kids, but so we need to educate on the fact that adult brains are not like teen brains, because teen brains are still developing, and ask them, encourage them to lock up their marijuana, certainly their edibles that look like candy to kids, their vape pens, as well as prescriptions such as opioids. And then with this, we will do the campaign, and then to really encourage this action and help all folks is we want to give away, provide free and low-cost lock boxes. And this is a proven strategy to reduce access of youth to drugs. Okay. So any questions?
Proven by whom?
Questions right here.
It's kind of like we're part of SAMHSA. It's a federal organization. We're a drug-free community, and we have like 7 strategies, and one of them is to reduce access. And this is, I mean, it's not the only way. There's no silver bullet.
Thank you.
One way.
I have a question. In your application, you list not only that this meets our goal of improving safety within the city, which I see that connection. You also list the provide work training opportunities or other benefits to youth, seniors, low-income persons.
It was really
what am I missing?
No, it was really the low income. Now, we aren't going to necessarily target them in our communications, but that's where the free or low-cost lockbox comes in.
Okay.
We're going to make it available to everyone, because basically on Amazon, they cost $35, $40, $50. So that was where the benefit to low SES.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Oh, it's great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next.
Now Oregon City Youth Sports, sorry.
All right.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for considering our project. I'm George Lee. I'm the president of Oregon City Youth Sports. And basically, what we're trying to do is put artificial turf on the baseball fields at Wesleyland Park. The main reason we want to do this is because of the soil that the baseball fields are made out of is like a red clay. And what that does is become compacted as summer goes along. It creates a huge safety hazard for kids sliding in the base, baseballs jumping up on them. And so with artificial turf, it creates a perfectly flat surface, no dangers in sliding, it's much softer. There's also many other benefits to it. We don't have to put water anymore. We don't have to use pesticides for weeds anymore. And we don't have to put, what's that?
Cheaper to mow.
There's virtually no maintenance on it. And so that's one of the main reasons we want to do it, is the safety of the players. It also enhances the park. Artificial turf can last 10 up to 15 years. So you get quite a long life out of it. 2 years ago, we applied for a grant for scoreboards in the park. We finished that project on time, within budget. It looks fantastic, so we'd like to kind of roll that along with Wesley Lynn and make it even better.
Okay.
Have you talked to the Northwest Alternatives for Pesticides folks?
I actually work for Metro Hazardous Waste.
Okay, there you go. Just wondering if you want to be putting pesticides on places where children are playing.
Well, when it happens before, they do it before the season, so we can get them out of there and then.
Okay, any other questions?
I have a question. Construction costs, would that be contracted out by another company? Is that up for bid?
So, yes, the company, we have to hire a company to actually do the install because the turf is so heavy that it requires special machine to lay it out. All the prep work is going to be done by Youth Sports and partnered with Phil and his team before they come in and actually lay the turf down.
Big park.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
I guess I have just one last question. So the lifespan's about 10, 15 years. What would be Oregon City Youth Sports involvement in the replacement when it's needed? Or is that something that you feel that the buy-in from that group would continue?
Absolutely. Yeah, Oregon City Youth Sports will be involved in that. And I've had several meetings with Phil and his team, and we feel that amount of time gives us enough time to properly budget and plan for replacement when it's needed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next.
Park Place Neighborhood Association.
Hello, my name is Bob LaSalle and I live in Park Place. In my youth, and please offer the courtesy of not asking how long ago it was.
It was last week.
I used to ride my bicycle from place to place to entertain myself.
Yes.
And with the destruction of the Park Place park play structures and the isolation of the Park Place neighborhood from any other adjacent neighborhoods because of Highway 213, it makes it pretty hard for the kids to move from place to place to find other areas for recreation. And also considering the future that there are approximately 700 existing and planned new dwelling units in the Park Place neighborhood, there's going to be a whole lot more children seeking places to play. And so we would really appreciate some help in getting this play structure rebuilt.
Are there
questions?
Have there been any leads on the arson right there?
Yeah. Pardon me?
Have there been any leads on the arson that occurred at the park?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Any other questions?
Pretty.
Thank you.
Pretty
Thank you so much. Redemption OC.
No SDC is on that?
They changed the SDC rules.
It's a state level.
Hello, I'm Dan Paxton. I'm the pastor of Redemption OC, and this is Adrian McLucas. He's one of our teens, and he's an Eagle Scout candidate. And so he's helping me get this project off the ground. A lot of people go to churches. First of all, I don't want you to give that to my congregation. I would never make it through a service. But part of the job of being a church is being a place where communities can gather. And we've done our fair share of allowing people to use our building. And unfortunately, the front of our building is not, where it faces the street, is not a place that is really safe and inviting. And so that's what we want to do. We want to bring that up. And so the people, when they do come there, it's safe, it's secure, and people walk through our property quite a bit through that neighborhood, and they're already using our property. It would just be nice to be able to give them something, a bench to sit at, and a place to put their dog stuff, and I want to be able to provide that. As a church, it's our job to do that for the community and for the world, but there's an underlying element that churches, because we're a nonprofit, we shouldn't make money, and so we don't. But in that same vein, we don't have the money to do the things that would allow us to be user-friendly. And so that's our desire, really, is just to provide a place for the community. And if we can do that through this grant, great. If there's so many things you guys are looking at tonight, so I couldn't imagine having to make that decision. So I'm open to any questions you have.
Questions?
Just, you were mentioning that you have a number of users, and I didn't really see in your application that you mentioned, maybe you did, and maybe I missed it since I was reading a lot of applications. Are there any groups that we might know of that you say utilize the facility?
Yeah, there's a couple that use it regularly on a weekly basis. We actually have 3 congregations that meet there. We have a Gleaners group that divides food out once a week there. Boy Scouts use it for their honor court and those kind of situations. We have a business association that comes and uses our building, and 4-H has done their fundraiser there, and we want to be able to continue to do that, but it's just, it's something that, when we bought that property, we bought it from a ministry that didn't take care of it, and so we upgraded it, and we spent the entire amount of our budget that we had, and we weren't able to do any facelift kind of things. We did all interior stuff and getting it ADA compliant and all usable. So, and then we had Narcotics Anonymous is met there. I mean, there's just different communities. They call us when they need a building because it's so expensive to rent a space. As a church, we don't charge. We say, okay, well, you can donate if you want to, but we really want to help you out. So that's it. We really do have an open door policy at our church.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Rivers of Life Center.
My name is Jerry Herman. I'm the president of Rivers of Life Center, and we've had a long-term partnership, Major Doug and I, from the Oregon City Junior ROTC in many areas of this city, cleaning up gateways, enhancing areas and such. This grant before you has to do with the work we initially started at Clackamas Cove about a year ago, had to do with dealing with lots of homeless sites with the police department and also with the code compliance folks, beginning to take control of the area, about 7 acres adjoining Clackamas Cove. And the 7 acres adjoins 50 acres of open water, which is the cove itself. And the site is owned by your urban renewal agency. The work that we're proposing does not require permits. We've had a long-term relationship also with Phil Lewis, John Waverly, and his staff in helping identify the kind of things that they'd like to see done adjoining Clackamas Park. We've moved about 20 tons of debris out of there that was illegally dumped over the last several years, and now we're concentrating on the removal of invasives and other materials. The Junior ROTC program gives me really organized people, cadets that really know how to get things done, to work with the others, of which you met here, to make things happen down at that site. So the first half of this project has to do with clearing more and more invasive plants, which are going to spread into Clackamas Park if we don't take care of them. We've done a good job on getting that started. Adding mulches and other materials that are available. David Mooney is one of our sponsors. He's the developer of the Cove. He has an $8,000 commitment to help us make this thing continue to make improvements. He's going to provide lots of mulches and other materials that are stored on the east side of the cove that nobody knew what to do with. We know exactly what to do with them. Line the paths and access ways. The second part of this project has to do with helping maintain your water quality in the cove. Believe it or not, 8 years ago, when the Marine Patrol was still in the cove, we went out there every year when I was running the River Resource Museum and helped toss rocks out of the channel so the Marine Patrol folks could get in and out of the cove. I've not been there for several years, and so the channel built up. But last fall, with the help of about 40 volunteers, in about 6 hours, we moved 15 yards of material out of the channel, allowing the cove to be replenished by the tide. The tide comes up, sweeps into the cove, and improves the water quality. This last year, you did not have an Oregon Health Authority alert for Clackamas Cove, and we believe that was because of our work. The previous 2 years, you did. So that's the gist of the whole project. Our partnership with the Oregon City Senior High School Junior ROTC is very important to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Questions?
That's a pretty clear project.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Village at the Falls. Wow. Thank you for waiting so patiently.
And I am the chair of Village at the Falls, of the steering committee of Village at the Falls, and I'm now thinking we should have named ourselves A Village at the Falls.
It's not too late.
Your initials didn't help you any. Yeah, really. Okay, Village at the Falls is an all-volunteer program to help older Oregon City residents who need extra help in order to remain in their homes as long as they wish and choose. The purpose of a village is to empower older adults to sustain their independence, stay connected to others, and in charge of their lives. Volunteers provide light-duty services such as minor maintenance, technology assistance, or transports to appointments, and a whole long list of other possible things. Village at the Falls is a member of Villages Northwest. It means we're sort of a program that operates under their nonprofit umbrella, making it easier for us to get started. It encompasses currently 7 operating villages in the Tri-County metro area and Clark County, with 3 in development. Well, actually, one just opened in Westland Lake Oswego. And there's another partner or sister village planning in about the same planning stage in Milwaukee, Gladstone. Why are we seeking grant funding? A typical village takes 3 to 4 years to get started. Just building that base of volunteers who are vetted and trained and ready to go, and membership drive and so on takes time. It's common when we first describe the program to others in the area, the comments are like, really? Why does it take so long? I have a neighbor who needs just this sort of service right now. And so our goal with extra funding and support is to use the funds to kind of accelerate our launch by focusing less on fundraising and more on volunteer recruitment, training, insurance, background checks, that sort of thing. There's a long list there in the budget notes. And so why are we doing this? I think most of us are aware the baby boomer bubble is just hitting, everybody's 65, is turning 65 this year as sort of the height of the bubble. We've all heard the numbers in various ways. From our look at the census.gov, and so these are not very, very current numbers, there are over 11,000 Oregon City residents that are over age 50, and of that about 40% are over age 65. This is a number that is conservative and one that is growing rapidly, as we all know. The number of people over 65, and then the bubble sort of continues, the number that are turning 80, 85, and so on. The need is high. Village at the Falls will create another route to support our older population to age more meaningfully, with more vitality, with more active engagement through connections to village participants, events that the village puts together and hosts. And there's this whole aspect of social isolation and loneliness that there's a lot of research that's kind of hitting the news these days. So we know that healthy, active elders build a healthy community. So we have questions.
Questions?
Excuse me for bringing the county up again, but they have a council on aging. Are you working in concert with them?
Yes, we are. We have somebody that is actually on their advisory council who's on our steering committee. And we've met with several of the programs of the county that serve aging and disability services, serve under that umbrella.
And then more locally, the nexus between the village and services provided by our own senior center here.
Right.
Pioneer Community Center, yeah.
We have, it's on our to-do list to make connections. I've met with the program, I'm blanking on her name, because we've been at tabling events together, but to go in and talk about ways to partnership, provide referrals and yeah.
And how long has this whole village concept been around?
Since 2001. The first village was opened in Boston, and there's now 200 villages, but I think that number, that's what's on.
A lot of success stories there.
There's a lot of success stories, and there's also, well, yes, lots of numbers being served, and that data is numbers that we can pull up from Villages Northwest and the national village-to-village network.
Thank you.
Information.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Can I check and see, did Clackamas County Arts Alliance arrive? Okay. I just want to check.
Thank you for checking. All right, so take a break? Yeah, I was going to propose that I want to just, I don't know if, I want to mention that conversation, and I don't know that, I don't know if we want to get into it, but I guess one of my concerns as a past city commissioner from 2009 to 2018 or 16, this debate came up quite a bit about city projects or projects connected to the city. As some of you may know, that the flower baskets hanging around town were one of those perpetual grant requests that came to this body during that time. And at some point, the city commission said, these should be budgeted, that projects coming from the city should be in the budget, and they shouldn't be coming through Metro Enhancement. Clearly tonight, we've taken a different direction, getting projects from the city in terms of the parks and public works. It's kind of, they're back on there again. So and that conversation probably happened for sure at some point in that 2-year gap from me not being on this, on the commission again. So if you could shed some light on that conversation or anyone else that was involved in that conversation to this point, because I think it has been a conversation we've had back and forth, which how we weigh city projects and compete them like really against these other public things that are coming through rather than put those in the budget. Now, obviously, some of these are matched with city budget funds.
Which is a little different.
It was my understanding that the ground rules for who is eligible for applying are basically a Metro Metro guidance in that regard.
Metro has kind of, I mean, the last presentation we had was that Metro kind of wanted to expand that to get more applications. So I'm just wondering if that's why
we've got plenty more now.
Right.
If I can work.
Do you know if that's?
Lori, can
I could chime in some. So we do have an IGA with Metro. It expires next summer in 2020. So we'll be in conversations with them over the next year. Currently, there is no specific criteria in our IGA that limits the amount of city applications we can have in Oregon City. So it's not in our IGA at this time.
And I don't think it ever was. I think, I mean, it was primarily that, you know, the commission is a large proponent or large percentage of this committee. And as city commissions in the past have basically said, this is a budget item.
Yeah.
And so I don't think this body has had that conversation recently again, and whether we're okay with the shift that we're taking back to what we were doing in the past. And I wouldn't really propose making a change at this moment because clearly these projects have been submitted and they're partnered with that. But I wouldn't mind having that conversation at the beginning of the next cycle again, just to make sure that we feel like we're tackling projects that we really want to.
Yeah.
And I think it worked, definitely getting more projects.
We just don't have.
For someone that sat on this committee for a long time, for many years, didn't have enough projects, and we were funding them all, which is a great thing to do. But it also, now we're going to have to weigh those projects a little heavy.
I think a great idea would be to have, you know, another session in a few months where we can get together and talk about, do we want to change the process? Like what's our agreement? What are those things? Like, I think maybe a relevant point would be to remind you at this point that some best practices when you're you know, rating and scoring the applicants are to and this is from conversation with Christine's colleagues at Metro as well, that selecting a diverse group of applicants is a great way to spend the funds. So spreading the money over many organizations, that's the impact is up to you to decide, but that's really kind of right now.
Okay, so I would propose, I would propose, I'm going to say 10 minutes, and this is the reason I'm going to say 10 minutes, because we did a preliminary rating ourselves before we came into this meeting. We've made adjustments based on what we've heard tonight. So by having a 10-minute break, that would give us 5 minutes to get our numbers to Lori, a 5-minute restroom break or whatever, so 10 minutes total, and then that would bring us back here. What we typically do is we have a database that all of our rankings fit into, so we rank them 1 through 24 as each individually, and then they get put in and get figured out, and we get a list of the combination of all of our scores put together, and that kind of lines up with the money, and we see
it's this one
where we fall in that line, and then if we have some discussion about that and decide whether we're going to go with that or how many grants we're gonna grant. So we'll take a 10-minute break.
Thank you.
So I just have a clarification. So you're talking about us seeing if we want to change our mind?
A question came up during the break. So did you want to acknowledge that, and we can have a conversation about it?
the issue is that each of the committee members were given the opportunity to rank these on their own individually, and tonight is the first time we really get to see all of the rest of the rankings. There was no ranking provided by Mayor Holliday, and so nothing appeared on here. There was also nothing supplied by Commissioner O'Donnell. The point is that all of these rankings then get averaged, and we have an average priority, which is kind of telling, we think. The point that was made is that one of our commissioners, Corey Ellis, who is not here tonight, did supply a ranking at an individual level, but they did not hear the presentation. So the question should be, should those be included in the averaging of the priorities? Would it make a difference? Because we can't predict whether or not those numbers would have changed after hearing the presentations or not. And I think it would be interesting to see how much would it change. And I imagine it wouldn't take a whole lot to pop this back into the spreadsheet, remove that column, and see how the averages change.
Well, I think for the
What
first
does the group
round,
think?
it definitely should be, it should stay included, but I think for the
Well, there it
second,
is.
yeah, but I think for the second round, we can't really include it because he didn't hear any of the presentations, or she, I don't know, is it? She. So that person did not hear any of the presentations and may or may not have changed their score based on the second round. So I think for the second round, those numbers need to be excluded.
Aren't we in the second round?
Are we in the second round?
Round two.
Yes, okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, but we listened to every single presentation. There was no round one. I mean, there was no cut. There was no round one cut.
Round one was the first set of voting, and we're doing, some people changed their scores. So that, to me, that's round two.
But there was no voting at round one.
Yes, this was the voting.
Individually.
Ranking.
Not collectively.
Yeah, but still, it didn't make any difference. There's no decisions based on those. There was no decision made in what you're calling round one. I mean,
I didn't label it.
I just said, in my mind, it's round one.
There's a preliminary average based on the first rankings. That's accurate, I would say.
sure.
A ranking.
But we're not making any cuts off of that.
No.
Correct.
So it's up to this
I think
group to
it
decide
is
what.
intended to be informational. It's not binding. It was a way to try to rank what you were reading in the application. Now, you've heard presentations. If you want to change your ranking, certainly can. We're inputting those now. And how you use these rankings is completely up to you.
Right. So does anyone have any issue with going forward, leaving those scores in?
With leaving them in.
Well, I would go either way. That's the discussion. I didn't hear a final decision. It's going to take the majority of us to make that decision.
I think that we just need to vote then about it.
So is there a motion?
I'd move to strike those rankings from committee member Ellis.
Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion purposes.
Okay, discussion? We just had it.
We just don't know if it's going to make an impact or not. I'd like to see what it looks like without it.
My issue is you're trying to decide whether you want somebody's scores, that they took the time to read the proposals and score them, and to see if you like their results, to see if it garners a different order that you, I feel like, and I'm not saying you're intentionally doing that, but it feels like you're trying to sway the numbers in a way that you want them to be swayed.
I don't even know how it's going to sway.
Well, right. So what's the point of calculating them and figuring that out? And then we're going to look at them again and say, oh, do we want to leave them in or do we want to leave them out? I mean, before we look at any recalculations, I think we need to decide if we leave them in or leave them out, to be fair. Otherwise, it looks like we're trying to sway votes based on deciding whose scores counts and whose don't count. And I wasn't aware if Commissioner O'Donnell or Commissioner Mayer were unable to make tonight's presentations and they had provided scores. I'm not sure if we'd still be having this conversation. I think we would say that they reviewed all of the 24 proposals and they gave us an opinion the same way we all sat there and I spent hours doing this. And so my vote is to leave them in.
Has this ever happened before? And what?
It didn't happen last year. I have only done this one other year, so it did not happen last year. So I couldn't speak it out. I have to look back further.
I only have to say that I was on a previous Metro Enhancement Committee, and I've never been on the committee where not everybody,
That's
if
true.
they didn't score anything, they weren't here. And I've never been on the group where somebody scored and then wasn't here. But I'm just looking back from history, and I was on it like 5-10 years ago.
I could tell you also historically, last year was the first year that there was more of funds requested than there was to give, so nobody ever got no before until last year. So maybe it didn't matter so much. I don't know.
Okay, so there's
I'm willing to go either way. I'm just, I found your argument somewhat compelling.
There's a motion on the table. It was seconded. Can we, so to remove those scores?
I might go individually this time if that's okay. Okay, Committee Member McGriff.
Aye.
Remove the scores, okay. Committee Member Gifford.
Aye.
Committee Member Novak.
Nay.
Committee Member Rocky Smith.
No.
Committee Member Christine Lewis.
Aye.
And Committee Member Rachel Smith.
No.
Perfect.
Sweet.
Yeah, my odds of being gored either way.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're keeping them in?
Because we'll leave it as is.
Okay.
All right, so are we ready to?
Yes, would you like me to print copies?
Okay, so normally we'll project it up, or do we want to do that and then see it on our screens? Because if you switch to the.
I can project it up to this screen. I'm not gonna bet my child's life on the fact that this screen is also gonna connect to your screen. We'll find out. I'm just saying.
We may just have to turn it.
Okay, you do it on your end. Okay.
I will.
Just checking.
We're switching them.
I'm gonna need your assistance.
And then when you save it, Ryan, you let me know, and then I'll open it on mine.
There you go. It doesn't stay. You can just. Yeah, there you go.
We're up.
I'm going to say one more time, these are all really amazing grants, and everybody took a tremendous amount of time.
Extremely difficult.
Everybody is working to help our community, and it's extraordinary. It really is. So thank you to everybody for taking the time to do this. And if you don't get awarded, I'm happy to talk to you about other grant opportunities and ways to help you in the future to strengthen the application, but please continue to support our community. Okay, I'm not opening it yet because it's still open. Let's see. Okay, go ahead. Okay. So when I pull this up, you'll see they're going to be ranked priority. Number 1 is the highest scoring grant. And on the right, I don't know how to make it expand. Oops. I know.
Good eyesight, but.
Thank you. So there you go. So down to 350.05 ends at line 14, Village at the Falls. So if you could make a motion right now to accept and award all those that reach our advertised amount, or thank you so much.
Sorry. Give us a moment to digest.
Sure. And everybody gets to process. You want to highlight the bottom end? Okay. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, dark over there. Oh, now it's highlighted.
There.
Yeah, it's just.
So I just highlighted up to 350,000.
A couple of points to make, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
One is you mentioned that we, in the past, we've always been able to grant all the applicants
Except last year.
except last year. However, it seemed to me as though there were times that we asked the applicants if they would be willing to accept something less.
Yes, yes, we did.
That's when I was on before.
Yeah, that's correct. And we talked about that. I don't know if you guys, we all had a meeting, a workshop internally to discuss best practices. And a very best practice is to fully award all grants that can accomplish their goals. The slippery slope, so to speak, is that if we start to cut different amounts off of all of these grants, then we need to have a clear demonstration of what the new deliverables will be so that when their exit report matches up, right? Like if instead of giving them 20 grand, I say 10, do your best. That's not a really clear expectation of what they're going to be able to accomplish or do. So it's a best practice to fully fund those that are most likely to accomplish their goals.
Especially those with clear criteria. The second point that I wanted to make, if I may, is that that still doesn't take it off the table for me.
Sure.
The second thing is that Ryan told us at the beginning of this that there is $180,000 in fund balance. What is that?
180,000, yes.
And so that if we wanted to, we could opt to tick up one more line there, and that would pick up, I mean, even if we, what's that, that's only 16,000, 17,000. If we took 30,000, we'd be picking up even more of those.
That's correct.
I think that we shouldn't be constrained by only the 350. What's the downside of eating into that, that 180,000?
Well, one is, this is a projection of next year, so it's assuming we get that revenue. Now, chances are we will. That's a pretty steady revenue stream. Beyond that, we are, with the 350, we are already eating away at that balance, going from 260 to 180, and 350 is what we advertised, and it is consistent with what we awarded last year. Beyond that, I would say it's obviously totally at your discretion.
We wound up with 180 because we didn't spend as much as we projected last time?
Well, we're projecting to decrease the balance from 260 to 180. So over the course of the next fiscal year, we're expecting if we were to award 350, that balance would go down.
And last year it was recommended as well to maintain reserves in the fund, just as a fiscal prudence to not deplete it, which is why that balance carried over.
So, the gray line.
No, you can't. You can't ask questions from the audience. If you have questions, you need to come up to the front.
I didn't know we were entertaining questions.
Well, we haven't had that conversation, but you can't yell things from the audience. So part of it is there's microphones. This is being recorded, and so we can't take input from the audience without coming up here. We can, and then if this committee wants to hear from the audience, they can. There's a comment from the audience. Does anyone oppose that? We let him come ask his question.
Have more discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll ask for public comment in just a second.
Yeah, so to clarify, right now, to fund the 350, it would be where the gray line is on the screen and up. So
Right.
starting at Village of the Falls, including Village of the Falls and up.
Correct.
Okay.
I think I'm just looking at, if we are funding that top set, say lines 4 through 14, we have two organizations who have 2 each. I just want to be really deliberate and clear that we are doing that intentionally, and that yields some pretty large totals when you bring those two together.
Right.
And I guess I just have concern when it is so competitive. That being said, I was obviously supportive of at least one project from each of those organizations being in my top ranking.
I would agree with you. In order to try to get a little more money and a little more diversity, I did leave off one of the projects because I thought the other one had a higher priority. I think that, in my opinion, the replacement of the window project, although I wanted to see more of a match, is more important to me than the wildflowers. And so I gave the wildflowers a lesser score than I did the window. Because I think the windows, I think is critical.
Yeah, it's a priority.
Although again, I said I wish we had more match, but.
Just a second. Clearly, when we have our meeting for the next cycle, that should be a definite discussion about how many applications from individual groups. Is there interest in actually making a change tonight on that? Or are we comfortable with?
I don't think we should make the change because we didn't stipulate that, and I think I would rather give them the opportunity to prioritize their applications that they, of ones that organization picks as, if we're going to tell them you can only submit one, then you tell us what you really want us to fund. Right. I mean, I don't have a problem doing that in future years, but then that would help them, let them help us prioritize, it would be part of the prioritization.
I agree with that too.
Yeah, me too.
William.
Yeah, I had another point to make is, what's that?
Nothing, go.
Oh. Another point to make is that there are a couple of smaller ticket items at the bottom of this list that could be easily, because some of the ones that didn't make the top of the list are fairly big grants. I mean, 46, 45, 44, those are relatively large numbers. But there's a couple down there that are under 20,000 that could be added into that.
And another consideration is if they've received grants in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And do they have options for other funding?
Yes, exactly. That's why I kept bringing up the county, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the county's a little strapped, I will tell you that. So
I know for a fact they are.
And I think we all know that. There's at least one project in my top 10 that this is going to finish out the project, and I feel very strongly about it, which is why I gave it the ranking that I did. On the other hand, I was very compelled by the ecumenical ministries, and I kept thinking, gee, should I clean out my spare bedroom, which is full of stuff? But we haven't. But anyway, I re-ranked them. Their statement was stuff they talked about was very compelling, and to hear that we've got 116 people out there, students, and then North Clackamas has 100, it just really bothered me.
Well, another project, this is tough decision. This is tough decisions, but the one that's really close to the middle there that concerns me that it didn't get up a little higher is that Rivers of Life Center, because of the aspect of both the youth involvement as well as the enhancement to the to our community. I think that's a double whammy, and I'm surprised that it isn't ranking higher.
The impact.
Yeah.
So, as someone that's been in this position a lot,
yes,
going through these, and having this same conversation a lot, to me, there's really only couple questions here. Do we go beyond our set amount? And if we do that, how many do we include on the ranking that exists? That's what we should be doing. The other question that could help is whether or not we want to entertain only, allowing the groups that submitted to allow them to just have one, which I think we've already spoke to that a little bit. I think it's unfair to do that in this process of the cycle that we're already in. But what I don't think we should do is start jumping around or skipping things that are in the list in that ranking, because we're going to get into a big problem that will never end.
I would agree.
And we've been there before. I think that this is a mix of a lot of emotions when we come to these meetings, because we know how hard it is when we come to this, and it's good to have all these great projects, but we really have to think about this process, and we really have to have. We only meet we meet usually once before the year, and then we do the meeting. That's it, and so. We forget, although we've had this discussion before, that first meeting that we have before we start this cycle, we really have to answer these questions and think about every single scenario, because these are not new scenarios. We've had this before, and so questions like whether or not city projects should be a part of it, questions about whether or not. And now, since we're getting the word out a lot better, we should probably be very clear that this is, one application per group or whatever.
Can I make a motion?
But yeah, if there's a motion.
I would like to make a motion that for the next round, that we have at least one meeting, and maybe we need two, but at least 1 to 2 meetings ahead of the applications going out, where we can talk about procedure and process and how we want to proceed moving forward, because you brought up some things from the past that some of us have not been involved in, and we need to have a discussion about
Would
that.
you repeat that motion? I'd like to second it.
Okay, I'm moving that for the next round of Metro Enhancement grants, that the committee be constituted to meet either between 1 and 2 times to talk about process and procedure, how we proceed for the next grant funding cycle.
And I'd like to, if I can make an amendment to that. I think what we really need to do too, that should not just be a discussion with this group. That should be a discussion that is noticed to anyone that's applied to this grant for the last, I would say 2 or 3 years. People that have applied to the grant, not people that have got it, because we need to hear that dialogue. Clearly, there's a dialogue out there that we need to be hearing about these issues. So I think that needs to happen. So anyone that's applied in the last 3 or 4 years needs to be notified that we're going to have that meeting. And I would also say that any of the groups that made a proposal tonight that don't get awarded tonight, apply again.
Well,
is that an amendment?
I don't think that has to be part of the motion.
No, all I want as an amendment is that we notice the applicants from the last 2 years.
My assumption is that since we are a public body, if we meet, that's already going to happen. That's already in the process.
Well, I think it's one thing to expect them to look at our meeting notes and when we're going to find out, and then send them a note, we're having a meeting, and it drives you.
You're talking about specific notification, but this is going to be a public meeting.
Can we maybe get
That's my amendment.
Can we get a second and then deliberate?
Yeah.
We already have one.
No. I said I was waiting for a more succinct motion.
So I think.
Hold on.
So if what I heard was correct, a motion that we would need minimum of 1, potentially 2 times as this group to work on procedures prior to the next cycle applications going out, with an amendment.
That was seconded by William.
With a second to notify all applicants whether they received a grant or not over the last 2 years.
Yes. Right. Just to let them know we're having that meeting.
I would accept that amendment.
Don't we already meet once?
Last year was the first time I had another meeting outside of this. This year was the first time we've done that.
Why isn't the motion for just 2 meetings before?
I said 1 to 2.
I think we already meet 1.
Before we even start in this process. I'm talking about prior.
We didn't have a meeting.
If you remember, it was 30 minutes and we didn't talk about what happens if
we did not
a group
have a
applies 7
meeting prior
times.
to this meeting.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay.
Can we do a group vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Hope you got all that written down.
It's recorded.
Okay, so is there a motion to how to deal with the grants?
Can I ask a question of the budget?
Question.
Maybe I missed this in the beginning. I know I was in the car listening on my phone when you guys were going over the remaining budget, the $180,000 in the pot. So, can you clarify? I believe these funds are only to be used for this program.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. So, what are the risks? I know the money needs to be spent each time. It needs to be spent within 3 years, and so you're having to keep up with which things were spent at which time, which grants, and all that kind of stuff. So, what are the risks that we should be aware of eating away some of that balance to say we go to 100,000 instead of 180,000? Like,
I think part of, if I were to put on my Wyatt hat,
yes.
I think part of it is uncertainty, even though we have a pretty good confidence level of the fund. So making sure that we have a comfortable enough fund balance in there to cover any shortfalls that we may run into.
Okay.
I think the second thing is just a good contingency, just having a contingency in those funds. Right now, as we're saying, we're taking it from 260 down, and we recommended to take it down to the 180. So there's an extra 80,000, and then having those extra funds on top of that for the projects that we've extended for tonight. So I think it's just from a good governance standpoint of leaving a little bit of cushion in there. I know Wyatt was comfortable at the 180. I don't think you want to go too much below that, but I can't give you if we went to 100, I think we would be okay.
Well, you said the magic words that I was waiting to hear is that we have the projects that were extended that we need to have a contingency just in case for those. So I'm satisfied now, because I was going to recommend that we go down, but now I'm not. Because I want to make sure that the stuff that we've already agreed to extend they are successful and that we can fully fund them. I mean, is there any reason why, if there was more money than we anticipated, we could come back?
We don't know the answer to that right now.
Yeah,
we have to talk through that. And Metro.
If we still had, let's say we still had like a little healthy margin, all those other projects got done after a year, and we could add this to the total for next time.
How about during our 1 to 2 meetings,
we have
a discussion about where do we want this ending fund balance to be? And we can have that discussion. I'm comfortable saying that you probably have a little bit of wiggle room.
Right.
While we're here, we picked 180. He identified 180 as a good ending fund balance. It seems like we could go a little bit below that. I don't want to go too much farther, but.
Well, I would say, why are you listening at home? Call in.
Okay. So I have a follow-up question. So the extensions that were made tonight, were those just time extensions?
Yes.
That's a good question. And the answer, I'm going to let Ryan answer it because he speaks more.
Yeah, I should clarify that. Those extensions are included already in that balance.
All right, so they're completely covered for, right? This is just a time extension to an already committed balance. They haven't asked for more money or anything like that. So
and some of them
we've already got that covered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, does anyone have a motion or recommendation?
Did we have some people that wanted to say something?
Well, one gentleman left.
It's something that was done in the years before. I just wanted to.
If you have a comment, you need to come up and introduce yourself, please. Even though we know who you are.
Yeah. Doug Healy, I think I've been on 2 more years than you did. So I did 16 of these. The thing we done when we had close rankings, up to you to deal with it, we have gone to a point where we brought the rankings down, and then we reduced everybody by that percentage, and it wouldn't be much of a percentage, and that's one thing you might consider if you feel in some of those subsequent ones that we had cases where actually you had a ranking, I'll say 11.1, 11.2, and then it was 13 or 14, and we wanted to pull that extra one in. That is another alternative you might want to consider.
Direction?
I'm ready to make a motion. We'll just see where it flies.
Okay.
I'm going to move that we accept, it's not 1 through 14, so items on
First 10.
4 through 14, which makes 10 for full funding.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Discussion.
Any discussion? I think we. Okay.
I'm still not
I
convinced.
guess you're still not convinced of what?
I'm still not convinced that we could not pick up 1 or 2 additional projects and not impact significantly our fund.
Right. I mean that's going to be my motion,
And
but
Brian
we can
nodding.
is to add.
We can do that as a
add more
second.
so we can we can take the call on this one, I guess. I guess my question is if we.
Could I just maybe say, so it sounds like this motion is to take the top 10 that have been identified. I don't think there's any reason after this you could not have a discussion about adding
Okay, let's do that. Let's take this motion and call for the vote.
Okay. Committee Member McGriff.
Aye.
Committee Member Gifford.
Aye.
Committee Member Novak.
Aye.
Committee Member Rocky Smith.
Aye.
Committee Member Christine Lewis.
Aye.
Committee Member Rachel Smith.
Aye.
All right,
Can
now.
I make a friendly
Yes.
clarification that it's actually the first 11, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Thank you.
So ecology in the classroom, Park Place.
I said 4 through 14. That's what I showed on my chart here.
All right, so just to clarify, not 10.
Everyone's in agreement on that.
That's why I didn't say 10.
Yes.
Okay, and is there another motion to add to that list?
See, part of my dilemma with adding is that I'm looking at my own scores and some of the stuff that's not everything. Well, I would have a hard time picking them out. I don't know. I'd like to fund more, but maybe it requires another vote. I don't know. I'm not.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
I'm not going to go with the rankings the way they are on the bottom.
Go ahead.
Given that we've already approved the first 11 of them, that we have to come up with a baseline as to how much more we would reduce that. And I would propose that the next 3 would be 17, 13, 30, that would be 55,000 roughly. 55,000 off of the 180 would not put us in any dire straits. And Ryan is in agreement with that. So I would propose that we add the next items of Clackamas County Arts Alliance, the Rivers of Life Center, and the City of Oregon City Public Works.
Rows 15 through 17.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded.
Okay. Committee Member McGriff.
Abstain.
Gifford.
Aye.
Member Gifford. Committee Member Novak.
Aye.
Committee Member Smith.
Aye.
Committee Member Christine Lewis.
Aye.
And Committee Member Rachel L. Smith.
Aye.
My abstention is, and I'll explain it, is because I'm not able to really adequately choose. There's some of my favorites are further down the row, and
oh, mine too.
My scores are there, so.
Mine too.
All right. Anything else?
What was the next one?
I guess I should look at. We're on the wrong screen, so I don't remember.
Oh, sorry.
I just thank everybody for slogging through this personally, and I appreciate everybody's work on this because it was not easy. I read all of these like twice and almost lost my mind.
I would encourage everyone to watch for that notice about our next meeting, and also reapply if you applied tonight and didn't get grant funds. And then I guess the last issue is exit reports. Last agenda item, exit reports.
Exit reports. So exit reports there are also the additional supporting materials. I'll just address that. The IGA enhancement bylaws are all there for your reference. The exit reports for this year are not due until the end of the month. Okay. So you only have a couple that are there. And they are complete, and staff recommends that they are accepted.
Extra points for getting
early.
Thank you, people, for getting your stuff in early.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion for that?
Was it more of just an update?
Yeah, just an update. Thank you. No.
Okay.
You're satisfied with the reports?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
I only got one of them read, so I have to apologize. I just spent all my time reading the.
It's I think maybe if it's okay with you, I'll add that to our agenda for our next meeting, because maybe we could come up with something where, like, if I see any discrepancies in the exit report, we mention that, or something to address how we review or consider the exit reports.
Okay.
If I could just say thank you.
Thank you.
For all the effort. There was a lot of applications there, and really appreciate all the time that went into this. I think it's a good idea I think you've captured some of the issues that they hope to discuss in preparation for the next time around, as it relates to number of applications submitted by an organization, ending fund balance, what we think would be a good contingency to have in that. Another thing you may consider is there a maximum amount of the grants that we want to
Yes.
see this type of interest again, to kind of spread that a little bit further. And if anybody comes up with any other thoughts or ideas, please feel free to email to Lori and I.
One briefly is that we increased the amount of money for a maximum grant, and yet we also opened it up to try to get more people to come, and it was almost as though there were cross purposes.
Exactly. I would agree with
That if we had lowered the limit, that we probably would have had more applications and we probably would have been able to grant more. I'm still amazed at a grant of a round number of $50,000.
It's the most you can ask for.
Yeah.
Yes, and to be able to identify the deliverables for that, when, how different would they be if it was only 40,000? I can't see the difference. So I'm
Max
still
amount
concerned.
left.
And I think the other one was public projects.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I would add just reoccurring applications for the exact same project. We asked the question, let's give some guidance so that we save folks from the hassle. If we all have a bias, let's put it on the table.
Yeah.
Well, I think sometimes some of the applications had indicated, because there's a couple of them I went back and looked at, and they indicated it was going to be a phased project, which I appreciated that because that way it was upfront.
Right.
But one of the things I loved about the exit report from the Arts Alliance is that although I guessed half of what those art pieces were, it would have been really nice if there had been just a little plaque on it or something that said, this is a, because I was looking at one when they first went up, I thought, what is that supposed to be?
If I could make one more comment about one of the things we can talk about is advising applicants that it's good to have photos. It's good to have a map of your area. It's good to have letters of recommendation. There was some good stuff there, and I think that they could have been more powerful with a better presentation of their idea.
I think the other thing I heard was how to handle committee members who provide their input but aren't able to attend.
Good point. Yeah.
And I might also, just a side note, suggest that we have not just the ranking sheet, but maybe a ranking rubric so that for each application, we can do an individual grade that actually helps us have some consistency.
That's the way we used to have it. I was looking for the individual ranking sheet, and then we were translating that onto other sheet.
I made my own, but I weighted it differently than everybody else.
Right. Yeah, but see, we had criteria for that individual ranking sheet. This much for this much for this, this much for that. That way we translated that over. And so I had a really hard time trying to figure out, okay, I had my really good, really sort of good, kind of pile. And how was I supposed to rank that without any criteria?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we had the same discussion. We wanted some sort of a mathematical model that we could use.
Algorithm.
Yeah, but so much of this is subjective.
It is.
It is. And we've had all these conversations before.
I know. This was exactly what we had when I did this last.
Well, now we get to have another meeting to actually resolve it. So thank you so much. Thank you, Tony. So much.
We resolved it before.
I know, but we go back.
We're having this conversation.
Right on time.
All right.
You did great things, people. Great things.
Anything else?
Call it, Mr. Chair.
We're adjourned.
Thank you for stepping in, Rocky.
Thank you.
Would you like all of our piles of stuff?